My name is Karajane Chapman. Like many young New Zealanders, I chose to migrate to Australia in my late teens in search of a better life for myself. Australia is considered to be a land of opportunity. Wages are higher and jobs are plentiful. I settled in Melbourne and began to get straight to work, studying and working full-time. Here I am on the dockside at St Kilda. Because I was working so hard, I'd never had the chance to step out of the cities. When I finally did, I experienced a profound spiritual connection with Australia's landscape and ecology. Watching as the sun set beyond Abur and rise at Uluru, gazing at the ancient rock face at Barunguai, I felt a sense of harmony, contentment and belonging. I finally felt like I was home. I am certainly not the first person to experience this connection. The art galleries at Outback are a record of the relationships that were cultivated here by the traditional custodians of this precious place. As I stared at the rock paintings, my logical Western mind attempted to formulate a story, an explanation for what I was seeing. Then I realised that perhaps these records aren't meant to be deciphered. Maybe they're simply remnants of Inma. Maybe they represent privileged knowledge that the white fella is simply not entitled to. Although such a notion is difficult for me to accept, as someone who believes that everything can be known and should be known, there is something beautiful about the idea that there could exist ideas that we simply aren't meant to know. We see progress as inherent to technological advancement, but at what cost to the environment which sustains us? Our visit to the Great Barrier Reef made me reconsider the idea of progress. On the Great Barrier Reef, I was privileged to swim with green turtles. I wonder if my grandchildren will ever know what it's like to swim alongside a turtle in perfect harmony amongst an underwater forest of exquisite marine life. Every year, increasing pressures on the ecosystem of the reef cause biodiversity loss and coral bleaching. The indigenous peoples don't consider the raping of country by housing projects, pollution, and mining to be indicative of progress. Our notion of progress is not sustainable. In the quest for progress, the white fella has oppressed indigenous cultures, separated their communities and forced them into cycles of poverty and welfare dependence. This is a photo of me listening to one of the guardians at the Women's Garden in Katherine. This garden provides whole foods to people who would otherwise have to rely on store-bought, processed foods. The knowledge of her community extends to potential medicinal cures, but she is determined that the white fella will never gain access to them. Although this conflicts with my view that medication should be available to everyone, it is easy to see why the Indigenous elders will no longer participate in research projects led by the white fella. Too often has their knowledge been stolen from them without any consideration to their contributions. All they ever wanted was acknowledgement of their knowledge and participation. In keeping their garden alive, the women of Katherine are making progress. They are teaching the next generation of Indigenous children how to subsist on natural food sources, and they're keeping their culture alive in doing so. That's what progress is: recovery, empowerment, and autonomy in sustainable practices.